What's going on YouTube? My name is Jack and welcome to a brand new video. Ultra Sun and Moon were released a few weeks ago, and since beating the games I was left in a reflective mood. And since I'm not the type of person that tends to plan out their teams in advance, I wanted to wait until after my playthrough to talk about them, which Pokemon I chose, which ones didn't work out, and which Pokemon I skipped over entirely. So in today's video we're going to discuss my team for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Well, not really. We're going to discuss my team for Ultra Moon since that's the version I played, and for the first time in years I didn't pick up both versions. Regardless, let's discuss. So, as with any Pokemon journey, I started off with my choice in starter Pokemon. In my last journey through Alola, I picked Litten, and although I enjoyed playing through the games, I didn't really have any connection with Torracat or even its final evolution Incineroar. And that kind of tainted my experience, as I found it quite a boring Pokemon to use, and if I'm completely honest, I definitely wouldn't choose it again. So this time, obviously, my choices were between Popplio and Rowlet. Given Rowlet's overwhelming popularity, I was a little unsure about picking it for myself, but in the end, my fondness for picking grass starters won out once again, and honestly I'm glad I did. Sure, Decidueye, or Houdini as I named him, might be considered overrated by some, but there's a reason for it to be highly regarded. It's good. It might not be the most competitively viable starter out there, but in terms of in-game use it was handy in so many more situations than my Incineroar was before. The next Pokemon in my Ultra Moon team joined fairly late on, considering I had already built up a solid team of 3 by this point in Sun and Moon. But this time I felt like I really needed to pick my team out carefully to try and maximise my chances of enjoying my journey more this time around. This Pokemon was Ekans. Ekans being a new encounter for the Alola region made me all kinds of hyped, since I'd always loved Jesse's Arbok in the anime growing up, and having used one in past games, so I had to just scoop one up. Unfortunately, upon catching it I realised it was a male Ekans, and so I couldn't give it the name I wanted in Jesse, so I settled on the name Monty instead, in reference to the classic comedy Monty Python. And not that it's a python, but still. Having Monty as part of my team was amazing. It took care of so many tough battles for me, especially with my limited knowledge of the type charts. Just having it come in and tank a few hits while I rethought my strategies was super helpful throughout my journey, and honestly reminded me constantly why I had fell for this Pokemon all those years ago. My next team addition came in the form of Mudbray. Although technically I'd had other members in my team before that, they didn't stay too long, and once boxed they didn't really come back out. Unless I absolutely needed them for a specific battle, and once I reached Paniolo Ranch, the first Pokemon I encountered there happened to be this female Mudbray, which I then named Seabiscuit after the famous racing horse, whom I know now is actually male. Awkward. Mudbray was my first ever random encounter shiny back in Sun and Moon, and the moment I saw Mudbray again I knew I had to use it this time in Ultra Moon. Mudsdale was eventually replaced, however, due to me desperately needing a flying type after Dartrix evolved and lost that typing. Having to face so many Pokemon with counters to Decidueye, I just couldn't continue to struggle through, and so in the end Toucannon, one of my favourites in Gen 7, took its place on my final team, but I definitely enjoyed using Mudsdale while I did. The following addition to my team is one I was absolutely kicking myself for not having in Sun and Moon, and that was Pichu. Back in Sun and Moon I didn't really spend too much time in Hawaii City, other than buying clothes of course, so I completely skipped the fact that I could have got one so early on. And so in preparation for Ultra Sun and Moon, I had planned to pick one up very early on if I could, and then I did exactly the same thing I did in Sun and Moon. I got to the second island before I found out that it actually had been made available in Route 1. In my defense though, it is a very hard encounter to get, with it only having a small percentage of appearing. So back I went all the way to Route 1 to spend an hour trying to encounter a Pichu. Okay, fine, I might have spent some time playing with the Rockruff, okay? And then I finally caught one, and again, this one was female. And knowing I wanted to evolve it into a Alolan Raichu, I named it Lilo after the movie Lilo and Stitch. I really grew to love this Pokemon and genuinely adore it. After finishing the game, I actually considered going back to having Raichu as our channel mascot. I like using it so much. New branding 2018, anybody? I'm honestly just so glad I used Alolan Raichu this time. The 5th member of my Ultra Moon team went to Araquanid. Having not used and only caught a Dewpider for the Pokédex in previous games, I didn't really know what to expect from this Pokemon. However, I knew it would do well given what others had said, and I really wanted to mix up my team this time and not pick up a wishy-washy. So I did. I picked up a Dewpider, and throughout my playthrough, Araquanid did fantastic. I love its typing, and the moves it gets access to came in really handy in tough spots. After playing through Ultra Moon, I definitely rethink my favourite Alola Pokemon in favour of this awesome Alolan native. So we reached the final member of my team for Ultra Moon, and that went to Salandit and later Salazzle. Salazzle is a Pokemon I'd used previously and knew pretty well in terms of moves and how much it could handle in battle, so it was a no-brainer that I'd have to pick it up again, especially since this time I didn't have a fire type in my starter Pokemon. My favourite thing about using Salazzle though was it knowing Toxic. As to when it came to later totems, it was super handy in stopping those from spamming healing moves and making the battle go on for forever and a day. I really hope that Salazzle is native in other regions in future, or at least I'll have access to the Pokemon when we move to the Switch, as I really did enjoy using it in both my Sun and Moon playthrough and my Ultra Moon playthrough. And there we have it, that was my team for Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but honestly I'd love to hear about some of yours too down in the comments, whether it's because of their usefulness in battle, maybe they hold some sort of sentimental value for you, whatever it may be. If you enjoyed this video, of course a like would be super appreciated. The more you guys like and share these videos, the more chance it has of reaching a wider audience and bringing some new members to our little community. I'd love to push forward to 2,500 and beyond, so any interactions or shares you guys make would really help us grow. If you're new to the channel, why not check out a few of my other videos too and consider joining the community yourself. That's it for now. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all next time.